Jurassic World Evolution 2 is out, and let's talk about it in our review and why I think it is one of the most disappointing releases. Welcome back guys, and today we are talking Jurassic World Evolution 2. In this review I want to talk through some of the things that I usually talk through: graphics, bugs, sound, gameplay, the like. With that though, I do want to touch upon some comments that we received in the last video where I mentioned that Jurassic World Evolution 2 has a bit of a problem, and that problem comes from Frontier in the form of Planet Zoo, and I made some comments around how, for me, Planet Zoo still offers the better choice out of the two. You know, your park management sim, very much looking after animals, managing crowds, ensuring guests are happy, etc. It certainly divided a lot of you in terms of how I positioned that. Some of you felt the points were completely unfair, others totally agreed. I have to say, I think now that I'm playing Jurassic World Evolution 2, I've gone through the campaign, I've gone through a lot of the challenges in Sandbox, I was vindicated. And actually, I didn't want to be vindicated. I didn't want to be proven right here. But this game, for me, is a mess. It's an absolute mess. It's disgusting that they are charging $60 to play this, which is ultimately just a reskin of Jurassic World Evolution. And the improvements are so minor. It is unbelievable that they expect their fan base to be happy with it. Now, I always promised myself when I would set up this gaming channel that my reviews would always be honest, I would always give a balanced view, and I will do so today as well. I'll talk about the things that I like, but ultimately this is going to be a negative review because there's no way around it. Jurassic World Evolution 2 is, for me, shameful. So let's get into it. Let's talk about the gameplay. So you start Jurassic World Evolution 2 on the story mode. Now, the clue is in the title, story mode. It is not a story mode. This is a tutorial that lasts a couple of hours, goes over a couple of missions. You think it's going to progress, but actually it's total nonsense. So a good example is ultimately the management side of things. Now, a lot of people said that Jurassic World Evolution is more of a management game than it is a creative game. Well, I'm sorry guys, I don't see much management involved in this, and I was really hoping the story mode would allow me to manage a park. Now, one of the fundamentals of any management game is, of course, finances. I need to deal with my finances, ensure that I'm not overspending. I also need to ensure what my income is. Well, you don't really understand what your income is, because as you can see from here, it lists out how much money is going out of my account. It just gives me a lump sum as to why it's coming in. Is that based on the number of dinosaurs? Is it based on their well-being? Is it based on other factors that I'm not aware of? It simply doesn't give me that information, and I spoke about this before about feedback. It is so important to have feedback in a game that is about management and creating a park. Now, the other aspects of managing a park would be the staff. Now, as I'm playing the story mode, I'm kind of seeing what I thought at first was guests, and then it dawned on me they are the staff that are running the buildings that I'm plopping down left and right and centre. And I realised to myself, hang on a minute, I've not actually hired any staff. Who are these people? There is no staff whatsoever in this game, and I was hoping that was going to be a feature that they would look to expand going forward, whether that be janitors, security, mechanics, the usual stuff that you find in other games. I cannot believe that they have not added this in for Jurassic World Evolution 2 when it is supposed to be a park management game. And so with that, you don't need to manage the guests either. They don't drop litter. You don't need to think about their well-being. They don't give you feedback. They don't tell you what it is that they're thinking on an individual basis. I have no idea if they're having fun or not having fun. The only feature they have added for Jurassic World Evolution 2 versus its predecessor is that you do get a flavour, an aggregate score of the overall look and feel of that audience that is coming into your park. So for example, it will give you a percentage on whether they're kind of adventure seekers or family based, whatever it might be. You can kind of judge your park based on that feedback, but again, it's nowhere near the level that we've come accustomed to in park management sim games. So the story mode itself, I should have had my concerns around about mission 3 because there wasn't really a story. It was kind of just telling you to grab dinosaurs from afar and bring them back to an enclosure that you build. The acting is poor, which is a real shame. You hope that in a franchise that the voice acting would be good, it wouldn't be cheesy.
Not bad if I do say so myself. And I guess I am, but we're also gonna need a response facility. Your response to this directive should be to get one built. Huh? You see what I did there, huh? Response. Never mind. Don't respond.
Alas, it is cheesy. It's not great whatsoever. You have no care for the people that you're dealing with. But nonetheless, I have no issues with an actual story if there is a story to it. But there's no danger in this game. There's no fear of losing. In fact, the challenge here is pretty weak overall. And here's the thing, to get your park off the ground in any story mode, you usually have a few things you need to build, whether that be a response team, a medical center, a science center, a visitor center. Here's the thing, guys, you can kind of just pause the game, you go into your menu, you select all the 4, 5, 6 buildings that you need, plop them all down, hit play, they get built in a couple of seconds, and that is it. That is your park done. And you could argue that, well, that happens in all simulator games, whether it's Planet Coaster, you do the same thing, or whether it's Planet Zoo, or whatever it might be, Parkitect. Here's the thing, what makes those games different is the level of customization. In this game, you can't even put down a trash can, you can't put down a bench, you can't put down anything on the pathways in terms of making your park feel a little bit more alive. It still feels bare. This very much does feel like a reskin of the original Jurassic World Evolution versus what this should really be, which is an in-depth management game. Now, for some reason throughout the game, and certainly in the story mode, they make you do some strange things. Get in your car and drive around taking pictures. I mean, I thought this was a park management game. I don't know why we've got these in here. There is no reward, there is no risk in doing that. One of the most annoying things for me is the constant tranquilizing of dinosaurs. I know that existed in the prior game. I was really hoping they were going to take that concept and just make it a little bit more interesting. Absolutely not. As you can see here, I actually flew my helicopter as close as I could to the dinosaurs. They don't even care that you're there. They don't move, they don't do nothing. And for me, it's like, what's the point? Totally redundant part of the game. Just get rid of it, make it automatic. I don't care. I'm in the business of trying to build a park here. Now, one thing I do want to say that they've improved on the gameplay wise is the way that you feed dinosaurs now. In particular, those leaf eaters, you actually have to put down plants and trees and ground leaf versus just putting out a feeder. The reason this works so well is that it starts to make the enclosures seem a little bit more realistic, and you're just at that point where you think, you know what, I'm starting to customize how this park looks, I'm starting to customize how these enclosures look, and that's really where I started to get a bit more excited by what the game had to offer and kind of could see where they were going with it. That is what they needed to do a lot more of to really make this stand out. Extracting DNA from dinosaurs, they've changed slightly. I don't know why they changed it. It was fine before. They've just kind of tweaked it a little bit. And this is the thing, like, if you're going to do a sequel to a game that has the potential, why on earth are you tweaking things that don't really add anything different to what you did before, just a different way of doing it? Now, clearly the franchise is holding them back. Clearly Universal have told Frontier, you can and can't do this, but the very fact that I can't even build a path over a river or raise up a path to take me over a bit of land or whatever it might be, I can't customize anything in this, and that for me is a big red strike to Universal if that is true. If it's not true, then what on earth were Frontier doing? I don't understand. Now, I've said before, in a game where you are managing and building your own park, feedback is everything. It has to be everything. Think of games like City Skylines. There is feedback on pollution, on crime, on fire risks, on the traffic. Think the same in Planet Zoo. Think the same in Planet Coaster. Parkitect. It doesn't matter what game you pick out from your choice of games, the fact is always the same. There is feedback. There is no feedback in Jurassic World Evolution 2 whatsoever. You cannot click on people, you cannot click on staff, you have no idea as to what is really going on in your park other than some quite basic heat maps in terms of coverage, which just means you just plop down more toilets or you just plop down more shelters. It's really just nothing there to it. It's a very shallow game, and it's kind of, for me, has the same depth as a mobile game. Once you get through what is a painful story mode and a very disappointing story mode, it will take you all of about 4 hours, I would say, you then can start looking at other parts of the game which do offer more of a challenge and a little bit more interesting. In particular, there's the Chaos Theory mode. This looks at several parks from the Jurassic Park franchise. With that, you can look to rebuild the park up from how it was before things went wrong. What I like about this is there's a lot of nostalgia involved. You kind of go back to the original Jurassic Park, try and build it up into a park that doesn't mean the dinosaurs are ramping around eating people. Now, in theory, it sounds great, and what they've done is they've included 1 or 2 unique buildings for each of these scenarios that kind of make the park stand out. I think you've probably all seen the San Diego park, where it has this kind of amphitheater. Likewise, you have the one from Jurassic World with the huge swimming pool and of course that kind of pyramid shaped building. So there are kind of some nice features, but then it ends and then it hits you once again, the lack of customization. So let's just talk the things that I do like. For example, the graphics here are wonderful. They really are, and this is what is such a shame in regards to the gameplay, because the graphics are sharp, they're crisp, has a wonderful color palette, and when you actually go back to Jurassic World Evolution, you can see the improvements that they've done here. The animations of the dinosaurs are absolutely wonderful. I would call this more of an observation type game. There isn't really too much interaction that you have. Usually once you build up a dinosaur, you send someone over to check it out, but you know, you get a lot of cues from the way the dinosaur behaves. It's animated beautifully. They deserve big credit for that. There was actually a wonderful moment as I was playing, and ultimately a storm came. Didn't really think much of it, and lo and behold, it was a tornado, and it was animated beautifully. And I'm looking at this thing thinking, oh my god, that's going to absolutely ruin my park. It's going to destroy me. I'm going to need to rebuild and manage my finances and manage making sure that people are safe. And oh, never mind, my park ranger's stuck in the middle of the tornado, nothing's happened to him. Oh, never mind, it barely did any damage whatsoever to my park. That was really just for show. And this is where I've got to hand it to the artists. You know, they do a fantastic job. They make it look slick. They make it look scary at times. They've done a wonderful job in terms of, you know, the animations and the dinosaurs. But you realise that it really is just a nice oil painting. And for me, as I say, it's kind of more of an observation game more than anything else. And if that's the kind of game you want, by the way, all credit to you, because you will absolutely love just observing the dinosaurs in their natural habitat and the way they kind of herd together and interact with each other. You're going to get a lot of enjoyment out of that. But if you're looking for something with depth, this is not the game for you. Now, I came across a few bugs, but nothing that was going to, you know, ruin the game for me entirely. There was situations where people would just run around aimlessly for no reason whatsoever. They run off into the forest to do some dogging or something. I don't know. The car physics themselves, it's kind of strange. You'll hit a rock and the car just goes flying. But hey, you know, neither here nor there. That's not going to be something that's going to ruin the game for me. As for sound, they've done another fantastic job here, Frontier. The roars of the dinosaurs are brilliant. They all sound unique. It's not even just the roars though. It's just kind of their general grunts as they're walking around and the way they're munching on food, etc. I love the way that they've implemented that. It goes without saying the soundtrack is phenomenal. I think we all know that with Jurassic Park, and I think that's the beauty of a franchise like this, that you can tap into it. The ambient sounds, they are also wonderful. The way the water shimmers and you can hear that. And Jeff Goldblum's in there with Ian Malcolm. He's back. He says a few sentences, not enough for my liking. I don't know how much money they had to have pay him on that one, but nonetheless, the sound works very nicely with the graphics to really immerse you in the Jurassic Park world, and they've done a really good job there. And that's such a shame, because I love the franchise. I love Frontier, what they do with all their other games. I thought Planet Zoo might be their biggest problem. I didn't want to be proved right. I put that video out last time just as a kind of opinion piece, but now that I've played Jurassic World Evolution 2, I wanted to be proved wrong. In fact, I think I was more disappointed than what I anticipated. I really wanted this to be something so much better. Now, a lot of people were called out in the comments Prehistoric Kingdom, to keep your eyes on that. It seems to be the game that I'm craving for, which is basically Planet Zoo but with dinosaurs. So with that, guys, that's the end of the review. I know it sounds like I've just shit from on high upon Jurassic World Evolution 2, but I owe it to you guys, because frankly, $60 is too much for this. I'm going to say how it is. I'm not going to You know, play up to the fanboys. If they can downvote, feel free. But ultimately, this was just a real disappointment. And trust me, it hurts saying that. I love these games that Frontier do. I love the franchise, but this, absolutely not. Big no-no, big disappointment. And should you happen to like this content, after I've just shit on the game, please subscribe. And until next time, I'll speak to you guys soon.